First of all, I'd like to introduce you to Linus Roach. And Gina McKee. Rupert Everett. David Dawson. Emma Corrin. I'd like to also thank the team at Indiana Productions and everyone at Amazon Studios and Prime Video. Jeff Blackburn, Jennifer Salkey, Julie Rappaport, Mike Hopkins, Scott Founders, and everyone connected with that company. They've been the most wonderful partners to work with. Thank you very much. Somebody spat the word queer at me in the playground at school, and I came home and I asked my father what a queer was. I had no idea. And he said, a queer, son, is a very nasty word for a homosexual. This is in the 1970s, remember? And that didn't help, actually, because I had to say, what's a homosexual? And there was a very, very long pause, which I remember and can remember even now, standing here in front of all of you today. And at the end of it, in what I now consider to be a supreme piece of parenting, he said, a homosexual son is a free spirit. Woo! And please enjoy My Policeman. Thank you very much.
A group of people here?
I can happily talk about that because I think I've got the most wonderful group of people I've ever worked with. I was at college with Linus. I've talked to Rupert about working with him for most of my career. Gina and I have worked together a great deal, and David Dawson and I have worked together a great deal. So it's basically I applied all my friends at that end of one day. And Harry and Emma both came on board to lead the company from the beginning. The idea really was to create, as you've now all seen, 3 characters played by 6 actors. And it was an amazing opportunity for all of us to talk in advance of the film about who we are at 20 and who we are 40 years later, and for the film to investigate properly memory and time and the way it works. And also, as I said at the beginning of the film, for me, I was attracted to something that really looked and investigated societal change over that huge period. And I think the film offered us that as well. But no, it was an amazing team to collaborate with.
I would like to ask now questions of the 2 groups of actors. The 1950s, as I think of you, in the 1990s. So for Emma, Harry, and David, this is a story about friendship between 3 people. How did you bond together as actors, as friends, to make that seem authentic on screen? Any of you?
We were very lucky because we had about 2-3 weeks rehearsal, which is very rare in film. And I think because Michael, history and theatre and all of that, we had 3 weeks to sort of break down all the scenes and talk about them. A lot of talking about them, which is lovely. And yeah, just figure it out. And it meant that when it came to it, we all felt very safe and comfortable. And yeah.
Yeah, I think I can speak from my experience. I felt very lucky to get to work with David and Emma. I think when you have the opportunity to work with people that you just feel good being around. They're both wonderful people to be around. So I think having a base of a real friendship outside of the characters obviously allows for, kind of the friendship scenes, if you will. It doesn't require much acting, and then in the kind of more intense scenes, there's a lot of trust and a safety there. So, all of that kind of benefits, I think, from just a real connection with the people you work with, which I felt very lucky to have during this project.
Great.
Early on, I think we promised each other that we'd look after each other through the process, and I think that's what made this a special team to be a part of.
Yeah. And to our 1990s. Can you speak a little bit, each of you, about what informed your performances, and how did you prepare to play the older versions of these people?
The 1950 sequences were largely shot first, and so we were very lucky to be able to view some of the material. I think each of us got about 3 or 4 scenes of our counterparts that we could watch, study, use if that was useful. But our conduit was Michael, and he coordinated the 2 eras, so that was really helpful.
And Michael kind of liberated us as well, because he made a very good point that you're not the same person you are 40 years later. So in a way, you didn't have to be the exact mirror of your counterpart. You know, Harry, for me, was the young man with all of his future ahead of him and all that possibility and colour and potential. And then I'm the man frozen in time, who's living with that heartache and heartbreak. And so you just contemplated that dimension, but again, Michael is the one that brought us into the same worlds. Even though they were 2 very distinct periods and worlds, it was one universe that we were all in. And Michael's responsible for the orchestration of that.
And I suppose for me, in one sense, I was playing someone who'd had a stroke, which is something I haven't had. Yes. So it was a kind of act of imagination as well, on top of feeling that I think fairly different from David. I think so much had happened in Patrick's life after the film finishes, really, that kind of drags the rest of his life towards his stroke, in a way, I suppose.
Right. Well, I know it's been incredibly brief, and I know some of you have planes to catch. I just want to thank you so much for